Welcome back to Giant Monster Games. I'm Adrian, and we are playing some negative counters today because it is the new fresh hotness, fresh off the Giant Monster Games press, because apparently I am a printing studio now. We are on the draw because our opponent, and our opponent is waiting for us now. We are going to, I think we're going to keep. Obviously, we don't have green mana, which does suck, but we do have a potential turn 1, turn 2 play if our opponent, because our opponent's playing first, so depending on what we run against, we can actually play Scar and Doomblade, and if we do draw into another forest or draw into another land, which technically we're not guaranteed, we do have some action we can be playing. So I think we're going to go that way. Not the best of best plays, but I think it's the way we're going to go. And we're against blue. Neat. Islands. So turn 1 play is completely not necessary. Do we draw now into a forest or a forested land? We do draw into a forest. Sweet thankness. I was scared that we wouldn't. And I think we're just going to ship it to our opponent and see what they have to say about us playing just a swamp. Are we playing against a mono blue deck? It is completely possible. Double swamp or double islands is what they're playing. What does our opponent play? Oh, creatures you control get +1/+1 with flying. Get +1/+1. So it looks like we're playing against the Flyers deck. I believe MTG Goldfish did one recently, or recently from when this video came out at least, of a all the Flyers deck, which is actually going to be pretty rad for us because we like going against Flyer decks, and Channeler Initiate is the best possible turn 2 play for us. So that's pretty rad. Because we are going to use it to create more mana next turn. Depending on what he plays, we may play Skinrender next turn, or we may play Nest of Scarabs next turn. We have a couple options. We have a couple different options what we can do next turn. We may also just play Hapatra and then hold up, potentially. We have some options. We have some options. Let's see what our opponent decides he wants to do. Our opponent plays an island, and then passes back to us. Interesting. And a second Hapatra, which is not the most amazing thing in the world, I'm not going to lie. And what we're going to do is play Hapatra number 1, because we're playing against blue. He's holding up a bunch of mana, which means he may be playing some kind of control package in his deck, which would make sense. If you're playing a mono blue or playing blue in general, he doesn't play anything. Well, that's a thing. That's a thing that happens. I think we're just going to ship it to our opponent's turn now. We're going to wait and see what our opponent plays. Obviously, I could, on our opponent's turn, actually, that's probably what we're going to do, is probably going to, at end step of our opponent, we're actually going to take a counter off of it, off of the Channeler's Initiate. Ooh. Ooh, I see. Really? Why didn't he play this before? I'm not sure. We could, in theory, can we kill it? We couldn't kill it. We could theoretically kill it. We're going to hold, though. Actually, do I kill it right now? Do I kill it right now? No, I think we're going to play Skinrender next turn, which will then get us some other stuff. Yeah, I think we're going to leave it up. We're okay. We'll take 2 damage in the air. Not the end of the world. We'll play Skinrender, throw 3 -1/-1 counters on and get a snake, and swing it with a little bit of damage. And our turn, what do we draw? We draw into a swamp, which I'm okay with, because we can... play Skinrender, and I think we're gonna pay with the Channeler Initiate just so we can start getting it so it's less small. So yeah, I'd like to make it so it's actually potentially a beatable rather than a beater rather than a 0/1. And when this comes into play, assuming our opponent doesn't counter it, which is theoretically possible, we're gonna throw a -1/-1 counter, or 3 of them, on the fairy. And our opponent is paying some costs, so our opponent has decided to play something. Maybe a remand. It is a remand, so it's going to go back to our hand, which is fine. Fine for us. And in that case, I will just swing in. Yes, and go to combat. Swing in with Hapatra. Nothing to block it. He doesn't have any blocks. So we're going to throw a -1 counter on something. We're going to throw that -1 counter on his fairy. What is the name of this card again? This is Spell Shudder Sprite. So we are going to throw this counter on this guy, get a -1 counter, and then, yes, of course, always yes, always yield. So we always going to create a snake, and waiting for our opponent. Our opponent is realizing what's happening. So, and do I want to play Scar now? I don't. I would rather wait for him to play something else and then potentially... Ooh, is he doing something in response? Our opponent is paying costs. He is playing a Quickerling. Enters the battlefield unless you... okay, well, in response, we are going to play Scar on his Shudderspell Sprite, which will make his Quickerling come into play and then die. Neat how that works out. Thanks for wasting your fairy card. And always going to be yes to Hapatra. Quickerling comes in, cannot sacrifice another creature, or cannot return a creature to his hand, so he is going to have to sacrifice it, which is sad days for our opponent. Let me show you guys what Quickerling does. It has no art, unfortunately, because my MTGO is crazy. When it enters the battlefield, sacrifice it unless you return another creature you control to its owner's hand. So he was actually planning on returning his fairy to his hand, which doesn't really work for our opponent when he has no creatures. So that's a thing. And our turn, Obelisk Spider. Ooh, super awesome. I think we are going to play... Oh, hold on, cancel that. If we play Nest of Scarabs... 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. We don't have enough. I was going to say we can play Nest of Scarabs, which then when we attack with Hapatra, we can actually just put the -1 counter on the snake, which then creates more tokens. But I think playing Obelisk Spider is going to be the better bet here. Because we can swing in, we'll throw another -1 counter on stuff, we'll throw a -1 counter on the snake, which will create another snake anyways, but it'll also make our opponent lose 1 life and we'll gain 1 life from Obelisk Spider. So kind of like doubling up the damage train over here. Assuming our opponent doesn't bounce it to our hand, he's going to remand it, which is fine. I'm okay with that. A little sad. Sad in the heart, but not the end of the world sad. And I guess we just attack everything. Attack with it all. And we can't play Doomblade next turn, unfortunately, so depending on what our opponent plays, I guess it doesn't really matter what our opponent plays at this point. And yes, might as well put it on one of our snakes, which will kill our snake, but we'll get another snake. So, yes. So, kind of like a double trigger. So, we lose a snake, but get a snake. Ideally, if we had Obelisk Spider, we'd also force our opponent to lose a life as well, which would be super funny for me. Flyers, mono blue Flyers deck. I considered making one of these for a while, but I never actually really got it to work. Yeah, that's all I had to say. That's the end of that story. Story time over. What is our opponent thinking now? I'm kind of wondering, I wonder if our opponent's thinking, like, what do we do? Okay, our opponent's going to sideboard. I was thinking, like, what do they do? How did I come back from this? So, we are playing against a Flyers-based deck. Nature's Claim might be something worth considering bringing in. I don't know if it is, really. Duress might also be something worth considering bringing in, but I don't think they have enough control magic. So I think, actually, I don't think there is anything that we can do other than just run our deck back. I can't think of any cards we would want to put in from the sideboard that will actually help us against this matchup. I think it is literally going to be the same either way. I think you guys get the point of what I'm trying to make here. I'm not changing the deck at all. I mean, there could be an argument made for putting in Duresses just to get rid of his counter magic, but I don't think it's really 100% necessary, to be quite honest. And opening hand is lovely. This is like the A team right here. This is what we want. Yes, because we're going to keep this because this is like the best possible hand. We have no turn 1 play, which we don't really care about at this point in this deck. Turn 2 play, Channeler Initiate. Turn 3 play being Obelisk Spider or Hapatra. And then turn 3 play being Necroskitter or Hapatra as well. And our opponent just plays the island. We don't have a... Oh, another swamp. That's pretty rad. Throw down the swamp, ship it to our opponent's turn. And then we are going to ship out Channeler Initiate right away. I guess there is an argument that can be made also to play Hapatra first, because then when Channeler Initiate comes into play, we actually would get counters, get a snake token. But I don't know if that's the best way. I think it's actually going to be Channeler Initiate because it gives us more mana, theoretically. Our opponent may remand it, though. I would not be surprised if they remand it just to slow us down, technically, by a turn. Basically, slowing our tempo down. Being a little bit of tempo control here. Would not be surprised. or Mana Leak, theoretically. I feel like our opponent, if they were going to sideboard stuff in, it would be sideboarding board wipes, which there's no real good board wipes in blue, but putting in more counter magic. So there's Remand. Slowing us down for a turn, just fine. Not the end of the world. But yeah, but putting in more counter magic against us, specifically stuff like Mana Leak would be good. Mana Leak being the one that you'd probably put in. I don't think you'd have Mana Leak in your sideboard, though. Mana Leak is kind of like a main board if you're trying to just look for other cheap spells. So, and it is our turn. Oh, no, yeah, it's our turn. Our opponent literally just skipped through their turn. They didn't have a second land. No third land drop. Surprising, if you ask me. So, at this point, we could play Channeler Initiate again, which I feel like if we do that, we're actually losing out on some of our mana. We're actually like playing a little bit behind. But if we play Obelisk Spider, that may be quite a bit better. So I think that's the way we're going to go. We're going to play Obelisk Spider as our first thing. Also because Obelisk Spider has reach. So as our opponent decides to play flying creatures, we can just reach them. And then throw -1 counters on them. So our opponent should have saved their Remand for that, theoretically. But they didn't, so that's the thing that happens. But Vapor Snag is a card that does exist. So it goes back to our hand, we lose a life. And that's going to be our turn. So our opponent has basically just stalled us out for 2 turns at the cost of paying a bunch of cards. So he's kind of 1-for-1ing us. Mind you, again, our opponent did not have a land drop last turn. And it looks like they may not have another land drop this turn. So we're kind of gaining the value here where our opponent is not. Which is completely okay by me. I'm okay with this. And I think it's literally just run back Obelisk Spider. We're going to keep going on this plan. Obelisk Spider plan. I know there could have been an argument also to throw down Channeler Initiate and Hapatra. Theoretically, there's an argument for that. Might have actually been a better argument, because I could have put down Llanowar Wastes, basically spent the life to play it. I think I misplayed, actually. 100%. Now that I think about it, I think that is actually the better play, because, again, if our opponent's going to remand us or do some other counter magic, we would get at least one of them into play. Too late now. This is where you learn. This is how we play this deck better. Yes, okay, so our opponent does get his next land drop, which is good for him. It's very good for him. But he looks like he's not playing anything. So for a deck that is supposed to be a Flyers deck, he's not playing many Flyers. Which is fine by us. I wonder how our opponent is going to come back. So let's throw down the Llanowar Waste. So what 2 cards do we want to play? I kind of want to play Obelisk Spider again, but I think also playing Hapatra and Channeler Initiate is maybe a better bet. It's kind of there's an argument for both ways. What do we think is better, Hapatra or Channeler Initiate? Actually, I think Nest of Scarabs and Channeler Initiate is actually a better bet, because we'll get 3 Scarab tokens. So that's the way we're going to go. 1, 2, and might as well use the colorless. Doesn't matter. Assuming our opponent doesn't remand this or counter it, which is also a complete possibility here. Does our opponent do anything? We're waiting for our opponent. Waiting on our opponent. Don't know what our opponent is doing. Our opponent is letting it resolve. That's exciting. And then let's play Channeler Initiate, which will get us some more mana, which is awesome, but it'll also get us 3 Scarab tokens, which will then start getting the Pain Train, 1/1 Pain Train rolling. Echoing Truth, so he's going to return our Nest of Scarabs back to our hand, which is okay. It's not the end of the world. Not the end of the world. Because, next turn we're going to have a lot of extra stuff coming into play. So our opponent is... our opponent is stalling us out, but not slowing us down. Oh, and he's going to Vapor Snag it as well. Wow. Congratulations. That's a thing. Spending a lot of cards. He's just again, he's just stalling. I don't see at this rate, I don't see how our opponent really wins, because it's possible. I'm saying this, but it's completely possible at this point. What is this? I can't pronounce that. I'm sorry. No pronunciation for this guy. We could always kill this. Is a possibility. I don't know if we should. I think playing other bigger things or other things might be a better bet. Specifically, throwing down Obelisk Spider and Necroskitter is a better bet, because then our opponent can't swing in, which becomes very hard for our opponent. The other option is we could always Channeler Initiate, Hapatra, and theoretically Doomblade. I don't know if we really want a Doomblade realistically. So let's go this way. I'm not sure why I'm tapping the Llanowar Wastes. Actually, I should be doing like Swamp, and then our opponent doesn't really know what's coming because if we play a second card, it could be green or black. Right now he knows it has to be black. And might as well be Necroskitter. Yeah, Necroskitter. Necroskitter is like one of my favorite cards, I'm not gonna lie. Ever since I saw this, I'm like, oh, how do I make this work? And I'm so glad that there's finally been a deck that I've like managed to find that actually allows to make it work pretty well. Super funny. So this, in theory, may make our opponent just scoop pretty darn soon. Because if he doesn't have a way of dealing with both these guys, he can't attack him with his flyers. If he does attack him with his flyers, he loses them to Necroskitter, and we gain them. So we kind of get the upper hand even more. So we'll see. I mean, our opponent could, in theory, have more Vapor Snags, more Echoing Truths, or even, like, other bounce cards in theory. But again, stuff like Echoing Truth is a sideboard card and usually like a 2 of at best. And Vapor Snag usually gets played in main boards as well. I see it played in main board regularly often. Not very often in sideboard, though. Quickling. Okay, well, he's going to be getting the Quickerling coming into play, which, again, doesn't really help him very much, I don't think. Sure, he's going to bounce this other fairy back to his hand, which is fine. But I don't see how it really helps him, because he can't swing in with the Quickerling either. I guess getting board presence is probably what he's going for here, actually. The reason why he can't swing in, for the record, as well, is because Obelisk Spider has an amazing ability that is, whenever he blocks a creature, he puts a -1 counter on that creature. So he's going to deal 1 damage to it, and then put a -1 counter on it. So it'll be basically deals 2 damage to it. So, which is super rad for us. Please, Tekken. Please don't realize that's what's going on. Opponent doesn't realize. Opponent doesn't see what's about to happen. He's walking out. Oh, maybe he does. Oh, I was going to say he's about to walk into the web of the Obelisk Spider. No, our opponent saw it. Our opponent saw it. Darn. Nothing better than a trap, I'm not going to lie. And he plays the other fairy again, which is fine. It's fine by me. I'm okay with him playing another fairy. And this is where we're going to get interesting, because our opponent has 4 cards in hand, may have some counter magic, possibly, but we can play a lot of stuff. Oh, he's going to return Obelisk Spider to our hand. I feel like he should have done that and attacked in, potentially, but he didn't. So we'll play that on Llanowar Wastes. We can play Obelisk Spider. Hold on, we have 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we can play Obelisk Spider, Hapatra, Channeler Initiate, in theory. Or Obelisk Spider, Nest of Scarabs, Channeler Initiate. Also a possibility. I think that's the way it goes, actually. I think that's how the news goes. So playing Obelisk Spider. We don't bother attacking in with, or do we attack in with it? I think we attack in with the Necroskitter. Because, I guess we probably could have played the Nest of Scarabs first. I kind of got a little excited there and went straight to attacks. So our opponent does not want to block. So our opponent's going to take 1 damage. Sure. Going to second main phase, I think it's going to be... I think it's going to be Hapatra and Channeler Initiate. Take 2 damage. Yeah. Not Channeler Initiate first. Hapatra first, definitely. So green, black, taking the damage, which is fine. Getting Hapatra into play. Channeler Initiate, again, taking a damage to get more. Green, Channeler Initiate comes into play. And we get a black Scarab token. And yeah, it goes here. You, on Channeler Initiate. There's no point in putting counters on anything else. This is going to be always yes. Always yes. And our opponent scoops it up. Opponent decides that is just not going to be able to deal with what we have going on here. Well, this has been Adrian playing Negative Counters. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to smash the like button, comment if you liked this video and want to see more videos like it, and game like a giant monster.